Good morning, everyone. I've often been asked the question, why do you Catholics do those strange things? And so I thought that maybe I'd spend some time over the next week or two just looking at some of the things that we as Catholics do and understand why it is that we do them, so that we can give sensible answers when people do ask these questions of us. And one of the first questions is, why do you Catholics make the sign of the cross when you start your prayers? It could go the other way. In a Catholic school, we always used to start our staff meetings off with a prayer in the morning, and people were given the opportunity of leading the prayer in turn. And the Catholics are very good about making the sign of the cross, as were some of the non-Catholics who went along with the tradition. But many of the people who are not Catholics felt uncomfortable about it. And some of them said really amazing prayers, and it's not to take away anything about the prayer life, but the question is, why make the sign of the cross, and where did it come from? Well, to start off with, the cross didn't originally, the sign of the cross wasn't originally done. But there were times in history, quite early on in the second and third century, when we find the faithful being encouraged to make the sign of the cross. And one of the instructions was, do not leave your home without signing yourself with the sign of the cross. I know that, as I mentioned before, I was visiting a relative in Ireland some years ago, and before we left, she had this little water font at the door and insisted on sprinkling us and sprinkling the car before we left. Yeah, you say, well, that's a ritual. Okay, maybe it is a ritual. But we make the sign of cross because it reminds us of the Trinity. Jesus said when we baptize in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. And so we remind ourselves of that by signing ourselves in mind and in heart and in our body, in what we do. So it's mind, heart, and soul. And it's a good way, I think, of reminding ourselves that we are communicating with God and that we're not just saying words. I often feel, and I know it's not theological, if you want to make a phone call, you pick up your phone and you dial a number so that you can get through. And it's pretty much the same when you say a prayer. You want to communicate with God. So before you communicate with God, you make the sign of the cross. Not only are you praying in His name, but you know that you're praying with Him and to Him. You have a wonderful day. Keep yourself safe. We'll see you again. God bless. Bye-bye.